All right. Hello, everyone. I have about 20 minutes to try and build this. So the goal is to make a little chat app that uses DeepSeek in as the way to do chat completions. And we want to do this with an Azure DeepSeek deployment. Now, the good news is I already have DeepSeek deployed on Azure. I've set up the infrastructure for that here. So it's actually not in DeepSeek .bicep. That was just an idea I had. But no, it's in here. So I'm already got this deployed. So it is Kind AI services. It's using this module. It's deploying DeepSeek R1, and there's only one version. And then this is actually the correct role. Okay, so this sets up DeepSeek with Entra ID authentication, so you don't have to use API keys, and gives me access to it. So then I can actually use this code locally in order to interact with it. Let me turn off my ridiculous levels of logging, so you don't need to see all that. And just run this code here. So this is using the Azure AI Inference SDK, which is an SDK that you can use to interact with the many different models that are in the Azure AI catalog. So, there's like Meta and Mistral and Cohere and all that stuff. And now there is DeepSeek. So you can see it already is coming out here. So we can see the response here. We've asked the question, how many languages are in the world? And we get back this think block here. And that's all the reasoning process for this model. And then we have the end of the think block, and then we have the actual answer. And so it did an estimate of 7,000. And you could go through the whole process. So this is working with the Azure AI Inference SDK. And now I want to get it working as like the back end of an application. So I'm building off an application that I already have, which is a court application here. So let's see. Now this application currently uses the OpenAI SDK. So we're just going to go ahead and replace the OpenAI SDK with the Azure AI SDK. So I'm going to use these imports here. So we set up our authentication. We get our token provider. And then the question is, what environment variable do you need? So we're only using a couple environment variables. We have the inference endpoint, and I'll show you what that looks like. So the inference endpoint looks like this. So AI services.ai.azure.com/models, and it has our specific service name here. So that's the inference endpoint. And then we have our tenant ID. And I just do that because I have a lot of different tenants. And so this way I make sure I'm logged into the right tenant. Okay, so that is all we're looking for. And we'll get rid of that. Get the bear. So we'll bring in this. So we're going to bring in this code here. Instead of the async Azure API, we're going to bring in the chat completions compliant client here. This is doing a similar scope. And we're just going to set this. So we save this client. We'll say it's the AI client. We save it on the blueprint, the way that we store stuff in the app, kind of like a global. And then for the model is already in the actual completions client constructor. So here we go. That looks good. Let's pass in, we already set up a credential here. So I'm going to say Azure credential. Okay, let's make sure that I have the code here, the right imports. Okay, there we go. Okay, that looks good. All right, so we set up the credential, check to make sure we have the right environment variables set up the client. All right, And here we go. Okay, so then we have the actual handler that gets in the messages. So we're going to adapt this code here. So let's go ahead and bring this streaming code in. Okay. So we're going to do something similar. So it's going to be bp.ai client.complete. And we need some imports for that system message and user message. Bring in those imports up here. Okay, so here's our system message, user message. Now, this is a chat with history. So we're going to say, so instead of, I'm going to go ahead and bring this into here. Okay. All right, so now messages, it's all messages. Great. Don't know if we're going to have to cast, we might have to cast these request messages into user system messages, but I would imagine that it could also just take a dict. We will find out. Okay, and then we say for update in results, we are going to stream that back. So let's get rid of this. And we'll say for update in a result. Looks like, oh, we're also not using the async client yet, so we can make that change after. So I'll say to do use async client. Assuming that there is an async client. I think there is. I just don't remember how to use it. For update in results, if update.choices, yeah, this is really similar code here. So if update.choices, we're going to yield update.choices 0. All right, there we go. All right. So as you can see, like the Azure AI SDK and the OpenAI SDK they have a lot of things in common, but they also have a few things different. Okay. So let's go and run this. Let's see, when we go, is it gonna load in? Yeah, so when we're locally, it's gonna load in a .env. And we have a .env that has the inference endpoint and my tenant ID. So we should be good there. So let's just run this app. Local. Oh, okay. Dun, dun, dun. Right, we are running. Okay, so let's say hi. Network error. Let's see what the issue is. Coroutine object has no attribute token. Okay, this is probably just a mismatch between the async stuff and the not async stuff. So let's just move it just to async for now. So I'll just import from standard Azure.identity instead of Azure.identity.aio. And then go back here and try again. Hi. Okay, and this time we get object of type streaming chat choice update is not JSON serializable. All right, so we need to make it JSON serializable. So let's see. Let's see if we can look inside this SDK and figure out how to make it. So I'm just gonna go to github.com and search for this. And I'm trying to find it in the Azure Python SDK, but being really lazy and hoping I find it here. Here we go. Okay. So this is the class. And I was hoping to be able to serialize this. Let's see, model-based.model. Model-based.model. What is model-based.model? Does that have any sort of serialization on it. Otherwise, I can just manually construct it. But the mapping is actually within a chat. Model base. All right, so let's look at the model base. Models from dicta models. And let's look at model. Do we have a model base in here? No. Where is the model base again? Okay. From done, import models as models. Where is model base? Model base. Model base. Okay. Here we go. And all right. Oh, there's this. I see all the serialization functions. Serialize. Model base. Model. Get model. This is not an efficient way of serializing. Is create value. So it does. There's a bunch of class model. There we go. My immutable mapping. Okay. So there's a copy. There's a dot dict. There's a new deserialize as dict. Oh, there's a dict. So why didn't it? I thought that JSON.dumps would automatically call that. Maybe not. All right, so let's just call as dict. Okay, great. I feel like there probably should have been an easier way to figure that out, but whatever. All right, here we go. As dict. Let's try that. Probably is that it doesn't seem to be doing the IntelliSense. It seems to be having a hard time. So maybe it doesn't see the package. All right, let's try this. Hi. Look at this. This is how much I thought about thinking. That's so fun. Okay, so that worked. The interesting thing is that it showed us the thought process, and we really want to distinguish between the thought process and the output. So we could either do that processing on the server, on the client. Generally, you should have your server be the smarter one and not do too much processing on the client for various reasons. So I'll use my logic from my blog post here to try and improve this. All right, so we're going to say is thinking equals false. So if update.choices and if update, okay, if content equals sync equals true. And so what we could do is like set a well, then we decide like how we want to handle this, right? Because right now, if we look at what we're sending to the server, let's see if it'll show the kind of network request here. Okay, so you can see here we get like delta content, delta content, delta content. Oh, it thought even harder about it this time. Delta content. Okay. So what we could do is add, oh, you can see actually there's this reasoning content. So I think that's something that we don't have yet in these in this API, but we will have in the future. So let's basically put the reasoning content into that reasoning content that is currently null. Yeah, that's what we'll do. Okay. So if that's the case, then we're going to say content. So it's delta. So instead of doing delta.content, we're going to say, we're going to set this equal, we got to go through the right order, that equal to none. And then this one, delta.reasoning content. I don't know, is it in the SDK yet? Like, we go here, is it going to be, is reasoning, I'm just trying to see, well, it'd be Python, it'd be right, reasoning content. Okay, not there. Reasoning content, so it's only coming through, I guess it's only coming through on the server. I don't know if it's going to let us set this or not, but let's try. Okay, So instead, actually, in this case, we would say, what would be appropriate here? We don't really want to convey think to the user. So maybe we set it to an empty string. I have to think about this. I'm trying to think like what the optimal API is from a front end to a back end for a reasoning model, right? So I'm kind of inventing this as we go. And then if they stop thinking, then is thinking is false. Okay, and that's fine. And then we're gonna just say, like, clear that out. And then otherwise, if there is content, then if is thinking, then we're gonna actually clear out content field and instead set the reasoning content to that. Okay. All right, and then what we do is we'll still yield it as a dict. Okay. All right, let's see if that was good logic or not. Let's go and set it out here. Hi. Okay. Okay, and so what happened here is that it didn't show us the thought process because we're not visualizing it right now. And if we look at here, let's see if we can see it. I'm hoping to see it in the actual. Okay, so I don't even see it in. I don't see it. So I see content empty, and then content new line, content high there. All right, so it looked like it didn't even. Oh, because sometimes it doesn't even think at all. All right, let's try not to. Let's reload it and say hi. I want it to think this time. Okay. And I want to see if it's going to send through any reasoning content. It's a bit tricky. All right. Instead of doing like this whole like abusing their stuff, let's just say reasoning content. We could also just, okay, we could do it as, maybe we should modify our front end first. So we're sending off all this stuff, delta content. We don't need quite all of this stuff, right? We only really need delta content role. So we could say like, all right, if they're thinking, then we could yield delta what do we want it to look like? Delta content. It's a lot of extra code. All right, let's look at the front end. So what we want in the front end is that when it comes through, let's say we're going to have in our template, right? So we have the assistant typing. Okay, so we'll have like a class for thoughts, and we'll just give it a different style for now so we can distinguish. And then we'll have the other class for the answer. And there we go. Okay. All right, so there we go. Answer. Hopefully that's the only one that has a class name of answer. Okay. Okay, so then if response.delta.content. Okay. If response.delta.reasoning content. This is what I was thinking. And then we would say, message name, yeah, thoughts equals this, right? If it's reasoning content, otherwise it's this one, and it's going to be Okay, so answer equal, I guess we'll do it like we do this, where we do let thoughts equal this. All right, so thoughts plus equal response dot delta dot reasoning content. Okay, and then we set the inner HTML to that. Otherwise, we set to this convert and okay, and we turn the answer into HTML. We'll see if we need that for the thoughts too. Okay. All right, and I don't even know if we would need that. All right, that was my thought for the front end. Let's reload. But the thing I don't know is whether this reasoning content, whether it's really working in terms of ASDICT. Oh, probably not, because, well, ASDICT might not be grabbing that, depending on how ASDICT is implemented. I think we might need to just write our own serialization. Okay. Hello. Okay. All right. Think nothing's getting added. Do we have a server error? No. Okay. All right. Probably means weird JavaScript error. All right. Let's see. Thoughts. Okay. Should have at least gone into here. Responsive delta content. Dot answer. Dot inner HTML. Let's go ahead and console log these. Make sure we're going in somewhere. We'd also using the proper debugger. You know. Only have a few minutes left though. All right. Console. That's it. There we go. Okay, good. Errors. That's what I like to see. Style. All right. So it's just saying that this doesn't exist. Fair. So that one doesn't exist. Oh, because I think it just already got cleared out. Yeah, because of that thing. So let's delete this code because I think this one's better now that we have multiple subdivs there. And rerun the app. And let's force reload. Hi. All right. All right. So it definitely got the answer content, but let's say we wanted to do something cute with the thinking content. It's not getting that. I think it's probably because we're kind of abusing this object here. I think the safer thing would be to just do some custom serialization here. So, you know, in the thinking case, in the non-thinking case, that's fine. In the reasoning case, we want to send something that looks similar to this. And so it's going to look kind of like, and really we don't need very much of this at all. So we could really pare down what we're sending here, but delta update choices. Okay. So it's going to look something like this. Yield, and the reasoning content is going to be content. And that's it. We're going to do that. Content is going to be that. All right. Role assistant, true, false, null. Finish reason. We don't even use any of these other things. Even delete those. Don't use that. Okay. We really just want this to happen here. All right. Do I have the right number of brackets? Looks like it. All right. Let's try. Hi. Thinking. Okay. Looks like it didn't get that stream. Reasoning content. It is getting reasoning content. Okay. All right, so maybe we're just not rendering it very well. Let's see. Message content. All right, probably just some not quite correct. Oh, you know what it probably is? It's probably snake case versus Python case. Yeah, it is. All right, so we'll go like this. Who can ever decide what you should use, right? And yeah, let's go with that. All right, let's match it. Okay, here we go. Hello. All right, let's see. Okay, dots, network, stream, reasoning content. It's definitely getting reasoning. If delta.content, let's see what, I probably maybe have a, okay, you know what? Yeah, I'm just missing a level. I think I'm missing a level. Okay. Delta content. Delta content. Okay. If response dot delta dot content, this is horrible, but it's almost better than having to do a debugger through streamed results. So we'll go with horrible. Okay. The thing, like, if you're using debugger for streamed results, then you have to go through potentially a lot. Maybe only a little, because you should catch it at the beginning, but sometimes it's easier just to console log. All right. Like 2 minutes for it to go. Okay. Okay, so there's a bunch of reasoning content. Probably just the logic is not quite right. So response.delta definitely has, oh yeah, because the, all right. Because this is response.delta.content, so we shouldn't have that. We should do this, and we'll just do that. And there we go. Okay. Okay, ready? Duh. What did I do? Okay. Response to delta reasoning content. Oh, that time, I think it just literally didn't have any thoughts. That's the one thing about the question high. There we go. Okay. This is a horrible background color. But remember, yes, sometimes it just doesn't think, which is fine. And sometimes it does think, and just a little bit. Okay, so there we go. And we would want to distinguish, we would use obviously better styles than that very low contrast style there. Okay, good. All right, so that's the basics, and I'll put that in an easier to use form. All right, everyone. That is it. I have to go now. Bye.